man, that was fantastic. And you guys. So you want to open this?
You have the questions.
All right. Well, why don't we go down the line and maybe chronologically or straight down the line? We can
go straight down the line from Pete.
Okay. So I want to know what got you into music and what got you started playing.
Chicks. Star Wars. I was huge into the soundtrack, and I wanted to be John Williams and conduct an orchestra for movies. And well, I didn't get that far, but that's what got me into music.
So what did you start out on?
Violin.
Violin.
Yeah.
Nice.
And then next thing you know, I wanted to be Def Leppard. So me and a couple buddies decided we were going to make a band, and we all went and bought guitars, and then we were like, hey, what's that thing with 4 strings? So I was like, oh, bass, that's cool. Yeah, I'll play bass. So that's what mostly, what I've done. And that got me into music.
What's your favorite bass player or some of your favorite inspirations? You don't have to be a bass player.
For bass, I was always way into John Paul Jones. I always thought he was killer. And I can't never remember the guy's name, but the bass player in James Gang, I can't remember his name, but he's awesome. That whole style is like that 70s kind of in the box kind of style. I really, really like it. So that's my favorite. Other than that, I'm really into Grateful Dead and Simon and Garfunkel. So that's nice. Like, you can ask him, and Truck Driving Country. Love it.
The stories. It's all about the stories.
It's killer.
Awesome. What got you into music?
I was kind of hyperactive as a kid, believe that or not. And I started on viola because you could take that in 3rd grade, and I wanted to break that. So I got out of viola pretty quick. 4th grade, I wanted to play drums, but they had enough drummers, so I tried the trumpet. Hated that. So 5th grade, I finally was able to play drums. And
you started on snare?
Snare, yeah. And then 6th grade, they put me on set. And
jazz band?
Yeah. And I wanted to learn to play sax, because sax is actually my favorite instrument. And I was first chair drumline. So I thought, listen, I'm doing my work. There were many people that played 2 instruments. I'm like, can I start learning to play sax? He said no. And the music teacher was a real buzzkill, and I got kicked out of band for, being a clown, which shouldn't surprise anybody. But I stayed with drums and hockey. That was it. If I wasn't drumming, I was playing hockey and vice versa. And, I've said this 1,000 times, man, drummers have it the best because we get to go and hit stuff for a length of time and nobody gets hurt. You get to get rid of all of that energy, that angst, whatever your mood is. You always feel better coming off the set, because it's gone. You exercise it and you're done. But yeah, no, drums are a huge part of me in my life, for sure.
What's some of your favorite influences?
Of course, Bonzo and Keith Moon and those guys, Peter, Chris, Bunny Carlos, Neil, the Professor. Sadly, he's gone. And I'm reading the Jeff Porcaro book right now.
Nice, yeah.
And so he died in '92, and I was 25. So I was kind of like a real metalhead in that period. So I knew of Toto, but I didn't know of the other stuff he's doing. So I'm going on YouTube and looking this stuff up and checking it out because he's a monster. And I had to laugh because there's a clip on there from Musicians Institute, and somebody asked him what he thinks of drum solos. And he said, I've never played one in my life. He said, drummers are supposed to play time. And I was thrilled to hear that because I hate drum solos. They annoy but anyway, so yeah.
Don't you hate when that happens?
Yeah.
Slips
yeah,
out
right?
once in a while.
So yeah, that's it. Drummers, man, they're cool people generally, and they're
a breed of their own.
Yes, we are.
Oh, yes, you are.
I wish my drums could talk, because there'd be so many books out there. My drums know more about me than I do.
Right. Well, it's interesting. So as I'm sure you know, when you sit in a different kit, the kit dictates how you play. And so everything we did today, though, was primarily the same, especially in Speakeasy Prophet. I was doing a bunch of stuff that I don't do, but the drums are saying, here, do this. And I'll be curious to see how, hearing it back and checking it out, because it was stuff that I generally, it was a lot busier than what I usually do.
So you're going out of your box a little bit.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Riffing out.
Yeah.
Well, you sounded great, man.
Thank you so much. And that was a fun little duo we did there earlier. That was cool.
Yeah.
I haven't got to play with
we
it.
could do that all night.
Yeah, right?
What about you, man?
How I got into it. So I'll keep it short. And my dad turned 40 in 1992, and I was a freshman in college. And at his party, this guy was playing old style Delta blues, and that's kind of how I got into it. Kind of met him one weekend when I was down at the laundromat downtown, and he took me back to his place and showed me a couple licks on the guitar, and I didn't have a guitar, so he gave me this harmonica, and I started playing harp with him, and he and I kind of, he mentored me a little bit, and that's how I got into it.
How would you guys typically describe the music that you create?
I'd say I don't know. When I first started out, one of the things that I was trying to do was just be like a world-class blues type of player, and I kind of I don't want to say gave up on it. I moved to Harrisburg to play music in the first place, so as time went on, like I played with this band called Krypton City Blues Review, ran great Chicago
That's your brother,
style.
isn't it?
What's this?
Isn't that your brother?
Well, no, but not. Yeah, we're soul brothers, but we're not blood kin, man.
Okay.
So.
But you started out with
Mitch, yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why I came down here. That's how I met Pete, and how I met Chad. And in I think 2004, we went down to 2004 when we went down to Clarksdale that first time.
Yeah.
So we went down to
2004.
Clarksdale to record with Big Jack Johnson. He said he wanted us to come down and make a record. Or it was our record, but he wanted to be on it. So we went down and did that. And after I came back, I was going through my first marriage was kind of falling apart a little bit, and I sort of got into started going in another direction a little bit, more of a songwriter slant on things. I don't want to say songwriter, but just like starting to step out of that blues thing. That's all I wanted to do for a long, long time. And then, Pete was sort of like turning me on to some music, and I'm starting to hear some other things. And I really don't know what we do. We just do what we do. We let the songs come out as they come out, and we just try to be as honest as we can. So that's sort of what we do.
So that country, that truck driving country, was that inspired by Pete? Or?
Yeah. Well, so what happened was he gave me a CD. This is what happened. He gave me a CD, and this is true to form for me, man. It's happened like 10 times at least. He gives me something. He gives me a CD, like let's say in 2004. He's like, you got to listen to this. You're gonna love it. Well, I never listened to it. So 2004 comes, 2005 comes, 2007 comes. I put the CD on. I'm at work. I'm like, I'm gonna listen to this. I listened to that CD for 3 months straight, 8 hours a day for 3 months straight. And I was like, holy crap, this thing is amazing. And he's like, and that's not the only time it's gonna happen again, because I'm supposed to watch a movie that I haven't watched.
Smokey the Bandit,
which is I bought. It's on my piano right now at home.
Do we have the rights for that?
Did that change your writing in any way by listening to that style?
Well, you know what happened? It made me realize that like there's a hub, right? There's a hub, and all music comes from this hub. And like I believe, and I may be totally wrong, I think country, early jazz, early blues, the roots musics, all that stuff is kind of the hub of the wheel, and everything else comes out from the middle of that hub. And once I realized that the similarities between the old country style stuff, the old blues stuff, the bluegrass stuff, the hill music, old jazz, they have all these similarities, man, which is like the hub of the wheel, and then they just kind of spring out from there. I was always kind of scared of it because I thought, I don't think they relate, but it all relates. Early rock, current rock, jazz, and then you get into your other progressive styles, and I think they all relate to the roots music. And to me, that's really what I'm into. I like that storytelling style. I like the integrity of those songs. I like the honesty. That really appeals to me. So that's kind of where things sort of changed once I realized what was going on there with all that stuff.
Sweet.
So, if you could give a message to your fans right now, what would it be?
The truth is that you know, I think about this a lot, man. I was thinking about this week, that we do love you. You know, we're blessed to have you in our lives, and whatever you're going through right now, whatever's going on in your life, there's hope for you, and we're going to continue to create music until God says no more music from you guys. But we love you, and we really appreciate you. I can't convey that enough, how much we appreciate people who listen to our music and support us. It can't, no matter what musicians think, not one of us is self-made. You know, you guys work your butts off. I know, Jamie, you do. I know you do. We do. But if it wasn't for the people that support us, they're our patrons, and we completely rely on them. We rely on the venues. There's some good ones, so we're not self-made at all. We work our best and try to do our best. But I love our fans, and I love the people who support us. And if I could hug y'all right now, I would. But I can't. But I'd like to.
Air hug.
So speaking of the venues, like, do you guys have like a favorite funny memory from a show?
Yeah, some we couldn't repeat because it would be all sheep on the screen. But
True that.
you know, we see. You know, I think you see things every gig. You know, you think yourself, I've seen it all. I've seen everything, and then you see something more. We played out in Baltimore a lot. At this place called Cat's Eye Pub. We haven't been down there for a while because it's Corona.
It's an adventure.
Yeah, it's an adventure.
Every
You've
time
gone
we
down.
go,
You've
yeah.
gone down with us before, and crazy stuff happens. You see the worst of the worst. You see the best of the best. You see people's. I mean, like one. And this is dumb, right? This is just one small example, and it's a good example. We're playing a gig down there one night. I play Rapper's Delight. It's just something fun to do.
Yes.
The band. Hey, you know, we struggle with it because it's just something fun to do. So they know we play it. They love to hear it. Some guy comes out and says, "Hey, I heard you do Rapper's Delight." I said, "Yeah, I did it already." I said, "I really can't do it." He's like, "Well, here's a $100 tip." I said, "I'll do it again." And he threw $100 in the thing, and I did it again, man. And you know, but we see the best of the best and the worst of the worst, and people. Go ahead.
And I was gonna say you get lots of advice too.
Well, that's what Speakeasy Prophet's about. Is like we were playing down in Westchester one time, and I was outside, and this guy came out to me and said, "Hey, you know, really like what you do." I said, "Thanks, man, I appreciate it." He said, "But if you really want to succeed, you got to do all the drugs you can do, love as many women as you can, spend all of your money, and when you're down to your last dime and you're about ready to die, that's when you're going to make it." And I was standing there, and he left, and I thought, some of that I'll try to follow. But like, you know, I don't really want to die. I'm not really looking for, but you know, the strangest things happen, man. I'm sure you both you guys probably got enough stories to write a book about. But you know, it's fun. It's an adventure.
Maybe not a book, maybe like a short playwright, maybe,
or a pamphlet at least.
Yeah, like a brochure, yeah, something like that. An
Informative
e-receipt.
pamphlet.
Yeah.
Well, Pete's going to be our historian and writer in chief for the stories, and yeah, many of them, I can't tell.
You can't repeat them because
at least not right now. But it is ridiculous.
What's one of your favorite performances, do you think?
I know a pretty interesting one. We were playing at Briggs Farm Blues Fest, and Nate happened to had gotten Lyme disease. I think that's what, or was it the flu?
I had Lyme disease,
but it wasn't diagnosed or anything yet. And I mean, he had the fever. He was like to the point where he's like using the mic stand to hold him up. And I gotta say, I'm sorry to say, it was just one of those where all, like, the moon and stars aligned and everything happened, and we came out solid. We were slamming. We played tight. It was great. He sounded great. We all were having fun. But he's like hallucinating.
I saw Abraham Lincoln in the crowd. I mean, it's no lie. I'm like, wow, man.
And then
I was so sick.
I'm like, man, you might get sick a little bit more.
Experience.
You mean like a ghost?
No, I think it was the real Abraham Lincoln personally, but it was fun.
He didn't have the deer with him, did he?
No, not that time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that was a good one.
So here's you guys throw some Muddy Waters references in there. What other famous musicians do you guys admire?
Big Jack Johnson.
Yeah, Paul Simon, man, is a big one. I mean, you know, we one of the things that's been nice, like when you start playing music, you get into the rock stuff and the Zeppelin stuff and all that stuff. I came into it backwards. I got into the deep blues, the Delta stuff, and as time has gone on, I moved more and more towards like the hip hop style of stuff and the rock stuff and the country stuff. And so I'm kind of coming from a backwards sort of evolution. And I personally like. you know, I like Paul Simon. I like good songwriters. The Eels, I really dig. I dig like old blues stuff, the country stuff. The country songwriters are kind of my favorites, man. I'm kind of on a, you know, like Chet Atkins guitar playing a lot, so I've been listening to that a little bit, and you know, some of the old school hip hop stuff, and you know, a lot of real good players, like the jazz guys, Jimmy Smith, and the organ guys really get to me for some reason. I don't know
Who
why.
you file for harp mostly?
You know what? For harp, I really like. Started in that traditional bag with like wanted to play Sonny Boy and Be Real, Delta E, and Little Walter. And to be honest with you, I stunk at it. I just was not cut out for it. You know, I could play the licks, but I never really felt like they were coming out of me. I just felt like I was stamping them out. You know, I really didn't feel it. So there's a harp player. He's passed on. His name's Paul DeLay. I really liked him. There's a guy named Carlos Del Junco who's very much of a progressive style player. He plays like jazz and blues stuff. I really like him. And I love the harp, but I don't listen to a lot of harp players anymore because I don't really like. I'm somewhere else right now. So, but that's kind of the guys that I really look to as
I heard you talk about you listen to a lot of horn players.
Yeah, I like all those guys, man. Like Miles Davis and more of the jazzy kind of guys. And to be honest with you, something that's really been important to me is the Stax sound, the soul Stax sound. There's something about that particular music. I think because I've been to Memphis, I've been to Stax. I know what was going on there. I've seen it. I've heard it. That's really the bag that I'm interested in right now. That whole deal.
It's not a bad bag to be in.
Well, the grooves were right and on time. The songs were good singers, and they had a real neighborhood vibe down there where they would like make pressings, and then the neighborhood kids would come in, they'd spin them, and they'd say, "What do you guys think of this?" "Well, we like this, we like that." So it was like the whole neighborhood was involved down there. I really did. It's like what you guys are trying to do here. I dig that communal approach, man. They were putting out what they thought their test group was their neighborhood. The people lived across the street from them, you know. So I really, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
So how do you guys think the music industry has changed, like with the internet, and what would you guys do to change or fix something if you think you could?
I don't have any thought. I think it's been good. One thing that I think is good, and I want you guys need to answer, but I'm just going to give you my 2-second answer. I think it's been good that folks who don't have a lot of exposure, like if you're at home and you're not real sure, you can put your stuff out there and kind of get a test to feel the problem is that you can also get bashed and hurt real bad because people they're not. You know, I've gotten some nasty comments because I sing like a weird way, and my style is kind of.
Well, there's people looking for that.
Yeah, and they'll beat you up, and they'll be merciless about it, and they're trying to hurt you, and that's where it's bad. Where it's good is that there's also a supportive network of people out there that say, "Oh yeah, this is cool, we love this," but it's hard. Like if you really care about it, I'd say I'm personally, and I'm working on it. I won't hear the 99 goods. I'll hear that one comment and want to jump off a bridge.
Well,
you know,
and that's natural. That's natural.
Is it? Because I don't know.
I think it is. I think there's a degree because people seek connection. I think that's one of those things that you'll hold on to because someone will go, "Oh well, am I reaching that goal that I really want to be hitting, or am I not reaching that goal that I want to be hitting? And if I'm not, am I more likely to focus on the things that need improvement, or am I more likely to focus on the things that are getting support because I'm already there?"
Yeah.
You know, so I think it is natural. I also think that doing that, like you said, there's good and bad aspects of it, but in my view, I think that any product any person's going to put out, any brand anyone's going to assign to, there's going to be heat against it and for it.
Yeah.
You know, and and I feel like that's kind of part of the artist's job to grow through that and go, okay, I'm gonna vibe here, I'm gonna vibe there, you know.
Yeah.
But I agree, and I'm glad you said something about it because most people won't.
Well, music is a funny thing, man. And me personally, and I know you guys, everybody in this room approaches their music differently. It's real personal to me, and it's a risk. And I mean, not to get too far down a road, but I think a lot of guys get sucked into substance abuse because they can't handle it. It's hard to handle that, putting yourself out there, and 90 people said you suck, and 10 people saying I think we like this, and 10 people saying, well, we don't know. And you're like, look, this is who I am, man, you know. And so you're trying your best, like, and I think I've come to a little bit of peace about that with these guys. Like, we put it out, we accept and love our fans, and I try not to go too far down the road if something negative comes out, because I'm no Pavarotti. I'm never going to be Pavarotti. I'm never going to be, name whoever, Eddie Van Halen. I'm never going to be him. I wish I could, but that's not who I am. I'm somebody else, and so I have to accept and live with that and try my best to be better, but also learn to live in my own skin. So I mean, you guys got any thoughts on that internet thing? I know you both.
I mean, the internet is great because, back, when you're a kid learning, and you're going out to play, you think you want to get a big record deal, and that was the way no one's going to hear your music unless you get a big record deal and you get it on the radio, or they put it in a movie or something. And now it's good and bad because now anybody has a full studio if they got Pro Tools, you got a full studio pretty much. Mm-hmm. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean you know how to record, but you have the whole studio, professional studio in your basement or in your bedroom. You could go out and you could make a recording, or you could even go to a studio and make a recording and put it out. You could sell it anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. From your house. You don't need the record label. You can register your own record label and distribute it.
Yep.
The downside is there's so much good stuff. It's really hard. You have to really seek out to find new stuff because there's so much new stuff and so many good things. But you used to know what to check out because you heard something on the radio and that led you down a wormhole at the record store. That's the thing. It's like good and bad. Because you could get it yourself, but that also means you're going to have a whole lot of good, you're going to have a whole lot of bad, you're going to have I don't know that anything's really bad. I mean, it's art, so that's that whole thing, but you could do it all yourself. You don't need that big label behind you. You don't need the money behind you. You don't need to...
Well, thank God for the internet right now because... people can't go out and see you guys play, and they can't go to the record store and listen. Oh, what's this album? Just think 1920, they didn't have the internet.
I know.
No music. I mean.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's an amazing thing. It's
well,
also,
they definitely have music.
Weird.
It just wasn't.
Well, it wasn't.
It was easy. The accessibility wasn't there.
Yeah, exactly.
We got great accessibility now.
I'll respond with a completely different because you pretty much said what I was thinking, but. The other side of this, and look, the truth of the matter is musicians don't like to talk about money. But the reality of it is we're making around the same money that he and I were making in 1993 in a country band. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So it's like musicians, like local gigging musicians, there's a lot of clubs that still expect you to bring a crowd. Which I do not agree with. I think you should have you should have a club that people want to go to. Entertainment should be a part of that.
Well, that's how CBGB worked. So
I miss CBGB and Hammerjacks for that matter.
On a local level, that's what Chick always said.
Absolutely, and Clingers.
And Clinger, they always said we have a crowd. It's your responsibility to keep them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we hire you to keep our crowd here. Which that's rare. People don't.
And especially if you're traveling and you're not from the area, how are you going to get fans in that area that don't know you? I mean, it's
and that's the interesting thing because if a club owner is going to call a plumber to come fix his plumbing, he's not going to try to negotiate a price. The plumber's going to say this is what I get paid, and he's going to pay him. And there's not going to be an argument. But somewhere in the lineage of musicians. Somebody made the mistake of saying, sure, we'll negotiate.
I think that's in art in general.
Yeah, for sure. And, in my career, right back in the mid-'90s in Harrisburg area, there was kind of an original scene starting to happen. It was really cool, but the club owners would not pay an original band over $250. Now you're bringing four people. That's the whole band. And then you'd get there, and if they didn't like the crowd you had, or there wasn't a crowd, I've had experience where the guy wrote me a check for half of the money, and he's like, you can kick my butt, but this is what you're getting, and I'm like, well, I just never work for you again, And then sadly, there's the other side of it, where it's kind of cannibalistic, where some bands they just want to play. and they'll take whatever they're offering. So that brings.
But that hurts the industry.
Exactly, and let's say $400 is the standard. So you get a handful of bands that are like, well, we'll do it for $2. Well, now it's $300 is the standard, and you know, I'm not against people trying to play their music, but I don't like if you're going to undercut everybody else, because you're weakening the scene by doing that. You're not helping the scene. You know, you're making it weaker, and I think that's the one thing that I struggle with. As much as I love to play, and I do not do it for the money, obviously, but you know I can speak for the three of us. We have spent a lifetime trying to learn our music.
I want to throw a wedge in this real quick. So, I totally agree with you, 100%. I also think that the fact that there are bands that are saying we'll accept it, and there are other bands. So you're talking about, you know, there's some bands that will negotiate and some bands that don't, and it brings the level down. Yes, correct. Except if in a general area, right, typically the biggest venue in the area doesn't negotiate with anyone. They go, this is what we're paying you because we're the biggest venue in town. This is where everybody comes, right? But as far as the bands, wouldn't you argue that communication between bands at what each of their rates are, not talking to each other, actually has more of an impact on that? Because if the bands are communicating, saying, hey, this is what we're getting, this is what we're getting, this is what we're getting, and it's not straight across the board, then you wouldn't know and everybody could have those conversations. But because they don't talk about it, you don't have those conversations. So that's kind of the point of building a community. Like, whereas, so like for example, when I play in Key West, all the artists and all the soloists and all the bands and all the bartenders and all the bookers, they all know each other. So we all know each other. So we know what so and so's getting and how long they're playing and what time they're playing and what slot's better. Like, because everybody's communicating. But when everybody's not communicating in that section, that's how those things tend to happen. Yeah. Along with what you're talking about.
I agree with that.
But it's not just the venues. It is also the communication between the whole circuit.
And therein lies the problem. Like, I've played Key West, great place. I played down there with Jack. There was a young kid, keyboard player, and I don't remember his name, something Red, I think. Cool kid. He went out and played with us on a couple different shows. But at any rate, the thing with Key West is it's a semi-finite area.
It's very small.
You know what I mean? So let's take Harrisburg for an example. You know, as soon as you start talking money with another band, everybody gets uncomfortable. Nobody wants to have the conversation, and it's this big secret. And look, I get it and I understand it. I'm just saying that I think the negotiation part of it needs to, like I said, you're going to call a plumber. You're not going to say, well, I think you're worth $50.
Right.
And the plumber's like, no, dude, I get $50 an hour. I think you're worth $50. That doesn't happen.
Well, you're right. And along with that, I do think that musicians should get more credit for being like, hey, man, I've been playing gigs for 10 years versus someone who's just getting into that gigging industry who's going to be like, oh, yeah, it's our first gig, we'll take $100. But then you have a band that's been playing around for a long period of time, regardless of if they're bringing people in or not bringing people in. They come, they show up on time, they bring their stuff in, they know how it goes, they're not bothering anybody. You get what you pay for. In that regard, you know, and that's up to the band and the people who want to discern what their time's worth.
Sorry.
And it's cool. And it also happens at you know, establishing venues like, you know, Jane, when you play with Function and stuff, and you're not playing the same types of venues that a solo singer-songwriter's playing. You're playing casinos and bigger kinds of things.
I see what you're talking about. If you think about Philadelphia, if you've ever had experience playing there, they're great venues, but there's so many people, and you have 45 minutes to get on and off, and it's almost like you got to pay to play.
Yeah, and that's no good, man. You do got to pay to play down there. That's what's going on, you know. But you're right. I mean, we need a better sense of community as musicians, I think, and we're guilty. We're all guilty of it. We get involved in what we're involved in, and we don't go see other guys. And
I think supporting other bands instead of fighting with them is important.
Even just sharing your stuff around, you know what I mean? Like being like, oh, hey, I saw the thing, I shared it on my whatever, on my story, you know, and that's like a little bit of that goes a long way, like being like, hey man, I was just jamming to this song.
No band's better than the other. We're just different, and we're on different paths.
Right.
Absolutely.
So you wanted to chime in with something, man? I want to come back to that.
I was just gonna say the trick though is you're right and all that stuff, but the bottom line is, the reality I should say, is that if these guys over here who just turned 21, 22, 23, and they got a band, and they're going to play, and they're going to bring, 75 of their newly turned 21 that are ready to go out and party.
Right.
And they're going to go hang out and jam the place, be there every night all the time. Can you blame? I mean, they're trying to run a business to make money too. So you could take that band and pay them, or you could go get the old guys like us, or you know what I mean, and you'll get. And you never know. I mean, we're lucky enough to have we have a half decent following. I mean, I think we usually get some people out, and we do okay, and we've got a good reputation around. But
well, and that's kind of the point of doing this, because I mean, so here's kind of what we think as a whole is, we were talking with Switch Fu and Emmanuel and Stu Huggins. It's like, well, Stu plays at different venues than Emmanuel plays, and Emmanuel plays at different places and knows different people. So it's like, if you start cross-referencing all those people with all their venues and all of their friends and all the people that are listening, you start throwing that into one big vat and getting everybody together. It's like, oh, hey, I actually, I might not like that, but I like this tune, and I like that, and I like this, because everybody's different. And there's definitely what you're talking about, jumping all across the board with the genres. So that's totally one of the things that we're trying to hammer in, is that,
connecting the fans.
Yeah,
to new music.
we got to connect everybody.
Yeah, and you guys have more fans out there than you realize. There's, you go to a place and somebody, I've been listening to you for 10, 15 years, and they're like, and they know all this stuff about you. And you're like, whoa, I didn't realize these people were even into my stuff.
Cool. So what's next for you guys?
Well, we're working on a CD right now, trying to get this thing wrapped up.
Do you have a title?
Well, we're going with Speakeasy Prophet, I think, just because I think that's where we're gonna land. There's still 2 or 3 songs that I think we got most of the tunes written. They're not polished up yet. We're probably, as far as the recording goes, I don't know what, we're maybe halfway or 3/4 of the way through. So that's what we're working on right now. We all got to get it back in shape, because we haven't been playing too much. I have to start working out and dieting. I think that's something that everybody in the band should do. But we all need to get back in shape after this period of not doing anything.
Speaking of that, last night we were in Sheets and they had bags of crackling, and I thought of you too.
Love them cracklings.
You guys are something else with Sheets. You go out of your way.
We're bad businessmen.
I think we've also been kind of trying to hello.
Turn back on.
Also trying to find a new sound that what we do. We've kind of done the same thing now in the area for close to 20 years.
Yeah.
I mean, the same format, the same instrumentation for the most part, and it's like we started doing this trio, mixing in some other instruments. Nate's been playing some guitar, we put a little electric guitar in, sometimes I'm playing a little bass. I don't know, just trying some new stuff, some different stuff, trying to find a sound that fits. We're not, like Nate was saying before, we're not really writing the blues tunes as much anymore. I mean, we got some bluesy stuff. Definitely a huge.
How many albums do you guys have now?
At least 5 that we've put out as just under Nate Myers.
Are they all on the website for purchase?
No. Well, it's a couple of them we never got repressed. So.
Okay.
But iTunes has.
CD Baby has
and
some stuff.
And Amazon, all the different online outlets have the last 2 CDs.
I have to say, every album is a different feel. I've listened to a few of them, and it's a different feel on every album. Like, it's a different part of your lives. It's
definitely.
I would check them out because there's some great content on there.
And this one is, I think it's even more different because it is just the 3 of us.
Yeah, and I haven't heard you guys play in a while, and you came in, and it's a whole nother sound.
We're trying to dial it in. Try to do something a little different, but it's not. I mean, it's nothing.
It's not groundbreaking,
right.
Yeah, but
for
us,
I mean,
it's something different.
Yeah, when you've been doing essentially the same thing for as long as we have, it's kind of refreshing to do something different and have some different instruments. I mean, I'm usually playing bass. I've been playing a lot more guitar. I miss bass sometimes, but it's fun. It's something different, Mm-hmm. Get to wank a little.
Well, thank you guys once again for coming out. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey guys, it's Justin
and Jamie
from Creative Sound Studios Online. We really appreciate you guys tuning in, subscribing, and watching these local artists perform.
We really do this from the bottom of our hearts, and with your support we can continue to help performing artists and musicians. So if you'd like to donate, there's a donate link on the website. Only give what you can. I really think you're going to enjoy what's coming up. And once again, we thank you.